The railways of the world have become an arena for the appearance of truly gigantic trains, machines that amaze with their scale and power. These iron titans, carrying behind them kilometers of cars, like huge snakes of steel and smoke, stretch for many miles, transporting thousands of tons of cargo and passengers. From the heaviest and longest consists to high-speed passenger giants. In this video, we will embark on an exciting journey through the top 15 largest trains in the world. But before we begin, do not forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This will help me a lot with promotion. And of course, enjoy watching. The truly legendary Big Boy 4014 from Union Pacific, the largest steam locomotive ever created by humans. This giant seems to have stepped off the pages of an industrial epic. A total of 25 such locomotives were built, and the first of them rolled onto the rails in 1941, in the very midst of the Second World War. Big Boy 4014 impresses with its dimensions: length, more than 40 meters, and weight, 550 tons. This behemoth could reach speeds of up to 130 kilometers per hour and pull thousands of tons of coal, climbing the steep mountain slopes between Utah and Wyoming. The main feature of the design is the articulated frame, which allowed the giant to take curves, making it unique among locomotives of that time. The wheel arrangement 4884 means 8 driving axles and 4 supporting axles in the front and rear. Such a design provided incredible stability and power, allowing the Big Boy to cope with any changes in relief. Over the years of service, Big Boy 4014 traveled more than 2 million kilometers, and its legend became firmly entrenched in the history of American engineering. After retiring in 1961, it seemed that its story had come to an end. But in 2013, Union Pacific bought the locomotive back from the Rail Giants Train Museum in Pomona, California, and moved it to its home depot in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where a grand restoration began. The restoration process took several years. Engineers, with love and fanatical precision, recreated every bolt, every pipe, every centimeter of cladding. And then, after decades, Big Boy 4014 came to life again. When it first released steam over the American prairies, crowds gathered along the tracks to witness the return of a legend. 7 other locomotives of the Big Boy family are in museums across America today, in St. Louis, Dallas, Denver, Omaha, Scranton, Green Bay, and Cheyenne. Each of them is a monument to the era of steam, a reminder of a time when technology was not just a tool, but the embodiment of human genius and ambition. 4014 is not just a machine. It is a symbol of striving forward, to new heights, to great dreams, evoking awe and respect in everyone who has ever seen it in action. And now, one of the most beautiful railway journeys in the world. Meet the legendary train, the Ghan, a passenger express that crosses the entire continent from north to south. The route of the Ghan connects Adelaide, Alice Springs, and Darwin, stretching for more than 2,900 kilometers. The train follows the famous Adelaide-Darwin corridor, and the entire journey takes 53 hours and 15 minutes. 3 days filled with incredible landscapes and the spirit of adventure. The name, the Ghan, is a shortening of the Afghan Express, a nickname that appeared as early as 1923 in honor of Afghan cameleers who helped British settlers explore Australia's interior. Today, the train is operated by Journey Beyond Rail Expeditions, and its consist includes about 28 cars, manufactured back in the 1960s-70s, and a separate car for automobiles. The total length of the consist is about 760 meters, and it is pulled by 2 powerful Pacific National NR-class locomotives. During the Second World War, this route was vital for the country, but at that time, the trains faced an acute shortage of water. To solve the problem, demineralizers were built along the line, allowing the use of groundwater. When in the 1970s the line was extended to Alice Springs and switched to diesel, the need for water disappeared, and the route became faster and more reliable. Today, the Ghan is not just a means of transportation, it is a journey through time, the embodiment of romance, adventure, and the boundless Australian expanses. Now let us move to India, a country with one of the most extensive railway networks in the world. And it is here that one of the longest trains on the planet appeared, Sheshnag, named after the mythical multi-headed serpent guarding the riches of the underworld. This giant stretched to almost 1.7 miles, and its impressive consist includes 118 cars, each loaded with essential goods that drive the country's economy. Its first kilometers, Sheshnag, covered on June 2, 2018, becoming a milestone in the history of Indian railways and breaking the national record for train length. To achieve this result, engineers coupled 4 trains into one, equipping them with 4 electric locomotives. This experiment proved so successful that it allowed the transportation of more cargo in less time. India's Minister of Railways, Piyush Goyal, personally announced the achievement, calling Sheshnag a step forward in improving the efficiency of the country's transport system. And what is especially striking is the fact that this entire colossus was operated by just one driver and his assistant. A huge consist controlled by 2 people became a symbol of India's technological prowess and engineering boldness. Welcome to the world of truly grand scales, to the railways of BNSF Railway, one of the largest railroad corporations in North America. This steel empire is part of the elite Big 7 Class 1 railroads of the USA and unites under its flag more than 35,000 employees who daily ensure movement along an incredible network of more than 32,000 miles of track, passing through 28 states. The company's fleet numbers about 8,000 locomotives, and it is they that drive colossal flows of freight between the country's eastern and western coasts. BNSF's 3 main transcontinental lines have become real arteries of the economy, through which the pulse of American industry flows continuously. The company has long been famous for its records. One of the most impressive BNSF consists, stretched for more than 2.5 miles, carrying 458 cars, a new record for freight trains in the USA. At the same time, it broke the previous record, which also belonged to BNSF, where a train more than 3 kilometers long included 435 cars. 7 of the most powerful locomotives are used to set such giants in motion, spaced along the length of the consist for even distribution of tractive effort. This large-scale operation was part of the company's bold project, launched back in 2007 to test extra-long trains on the Los Angeles-Clovis route. BNSF proved to the entire world, if anyone is capable of operating kilometer-long steel monsters, it is them. Each of their runs is an orchestra of metal, power, and precision, and each locomotive is an instrument in the symphony of motion that keeps all American logistics in shape. In the country where ancient traditions intertwine with cutting-edge technology, a train emerged that became a symbol of speed and perfection, the Tokaido Shinkansen N700. This Japanese express is not just transport, but the embodiment of synergy between art and engineering genius. Its sleek body, more than 400 feet long, glides swiftly along the rails like an arrow shot into the future. Smooth lines, a rapid silhouette, harmony of form and technology, everything about it speaks of the mastery of Japanese engineers. This train first entered service in 2007, becoming a symbol of a new era. Since then, it has connected Japan's megacities with astonishing speed, leaving behind it a trail of admiring glances and the rustle of wind. This beauty weighs more than 700,000 pounds, and its streamlined contours are the result of the work of the best designers of the land of the rising sun. In the dense web of Japan's railways, the Shinkansen N700 has become a vital artery, linking cities, regions, and people's hearts. It does not simply carry passengers, it unites generations and distances, embodying Japan's aspiration to unity, progress, and beauty in motion. Amid the scorching expanses of the Sahara lies one of the most extreme and impressive railways in the world, the Mauritania Railway. This line is a true steel cord, linking the heart of Mauritania's mining industry with the port of Nouadhibou on the Atlantic coast. Built in 1960, it immediately became a pillar of the country's economy, for it is through it that most of the national wealth, iron ore, is transported. In 1974, the railway was nationalized and became a symbol of Mauritania's independence and progress. However, the path was thorny. When the country extended its borders into Western Sahara, the railway was threatened by attacks from the Polisario movement. In 1976, train operations were halted, which led to an economic crisis and political upheavals, up to the overthrow of President Mokhtar Ould Daddah in 1978. After the stabilization of power, the railway was restored, and by the 1980s, trains were running again. Today, Mauritania Railway trains stretch to 3 kilometers and carry more than 16 million tons of iron ore annually. Each consist is pulled by 3 to 4 powerful EMD diesel-electric locomotives, followed by up to 210 cars, each carrying 84 tons of heavy cargo. But that is not all. People often travel on the roofs of these cars. Daredevils and tourists from all over the world ride across the scorching desert, enjoying views of endless sands and starry skies. In 2014, Glencore concluded a $1 billion deal to use the railway and port facilities for 18 years. But fluctuations in ore prices changed the plans, and the project remained only a reminder of an unstable yet fascinating industry. The Mauritania Railway is not just a railway. It is a symbol of endurance, struggle, and the human will that can overcome even the most merciless desert. There was a time when the circus was a true marvel that brought cities to life and fired the imagination of children and adults. And there was no circus grander than the legendary show of Barnum and Bailey and Ringling Brothers. When they came to town, it was an event of universal scale, and all thanks to their incredible trains, entire traveling cities on wheels. These circus consists were not just trains. This was an entire caravan of wonders that seemed to stretch to the very horizon. Hundreds of performers, trained animals, props, and entire mobile homes, all this traveled on dozens of cars, turning every stop into a festival. At the peak of their existence, the Barnum and Bailey circus trains were the longest private consists in the world. Each of them consisted of approximately 60 cars, and the entire fleet of circus trains crisscrossed the United States, making journeys 2 years long along an intricate route. It was not just transport, it was magic in motion, where every locomotive horn called people from all ends of the country under the big top. In Brazil, amid jungles and mountainous plains, operates a railway line that sustains an entire industry, the Carajás Railway. These trains are not just transport, but an artery that connects the ore-rich mines of the state of Pará with the port of Ponta da Madeira on the coast. This line is operated by Vale SA, a giant of the mining industry and one of the largest companies in the world. The history of the railway began in the 1980s, when the country was preparing for a rapid growth in iron ore exports. The first section, 9 miles long, was laid in 1982, and 11 years later, in 1995, the railway officially opened. Today, decades later, the Carajás Railway is considered the most efficient railway in Brazil. The consists running on this line are staggering in scale, 330 cars, each transporting tons of ore. The total weight of a train can reach more than 40,000 tons, and its length, several kilometers. However, success did not come without controversy. The railway has been criticized for deforestation, the resettlement of indigenous peoples, and threats to the Amazon ecosystem. In response, Vale introduced nature protection programs, trying to find a balance between industrial progress and the preservation of the region's unique flora and fauna. Now let us move to Europe, to a time when the railways of the United Kingdom were a symbol of progress and engineering genius. Before us is the legendary British Rail Class 55, or, as it was lovingly called, the Deltic. Created by English Electric in the early 1960s, this diesel-electric locomotive became the pinnacle of British engineering. Each of them cost approximately £65,000 sterling, an enormous sum for that time. These machines were famous for speed, reliability, and power, carrying passengers and cargo throughout the country. The length of each locomotive exceeded 21 meters, and the weight reached about 100 tons. Unthinkable figures for that era. Deltic became an icon of British railways. It was recognized by the distinctive design and the sound of its engine, and railway fans worshipped it as a symbol of the age. It was the most powerful diesel locomotive in its class in the United Kingdom, and still remains an object of admiration among collectors and lovers of railway history. Even decades after withdrawal from service, these trains continue to live in museums and in the hearts of those who once saw the Deltic flash along British rails, leaving behind the echo of an era of great railway progress. Across the vast expanses of Russia, amid plains and taiga, a true symbol of speed and technological breakthrough appeared, the Sapsan train. These swift machines are the pride of the modern railway industry, the embodiment of advanced engineering art and the power of human thought. Elegant, powerful, and futuristic, they swiftly glide between Moscow and St. Petersburg, slicing the air at a speed of about 250 kilometers per hour. Their graceful body weighs more than 800 tons, and inside, comfort and world-class technology. Sapsan has become not just transport, but a symbol of a new time, reducing the journey between Russia's two main cities to 4 hours. Now, thousands of passengers board this train every day to cross the country in record time. This project was conceived in the early 2000s, when Russia set out to modernize its transport system. And already by the end of the decade, Sapsan confidently entered history. It marked a new era of speed, efficiency, and comfort. These trains do not simply connect cities, they connect the culture, economy, and future of the country, becoming the embodiment of Russia's aspiration to innovation and progress. When speaking of true railway legends, it is impossible not to mention Union Pacific, one of the oldest and most influential railroad companies in the history of the USA. This network extends for a colossal more than 32,000 miles, covering 23 American states, from Chicago all the way to New Orleans. Union Pacific is not just a railway. It is the living embodiment of the Wild West, the spirit of pioneers, and the technological might of America. The company's fleet numbers 8,300 locomotives, which daily carry millions of tons of cargo across mountains, deserts, and plains. The history of Union Pacific began in 1862, when the company became one of the driving forces in the construction of the first transcontinental railroad. This main line connected the eastern and western shores of the country, forever changing American history. Since then, the company has absorbed many other railroads, among them Missouri Pacific, Western Pacific, Kansas, Texas, and Chicago Rock Island. Union Pacific has forever inscribed its name in the chronicles of the USA's industrial development. It was this company that set the record for hauling the heaviest freight consist in North American history, a train pulling 28,000 tons of cargo. And in 1934, Union Pacific again entered history when its experimental train M10,000 set a new speed record for diesel trains, 104 miles per hour. Union Pacific is a symbol of America, its perseverance and engineering power. It stood at the origins of the Golden Age of railways and the Golden Spike ceremony in 1869, where the Eastern and Western lines met, became one of the most iconic events in the history of the transport era. This railway seems to personify eternal movement forward, across boundless plains, through generations, to new horizons. When speaking of railways that have become the true backbone of an entire country, the Canadian National Railway, CNR, occupies a special place on this list. This rail artery is a pillar of Canada's economy and one of the cornerstones of North America's transport system. Its network covers all of Canada, passing through majestic mountains, forests, and cities, and stretches further into the United States. The total length of the tracks is almost 53,000 kilometers, and along this steel web, thousands of tons of cargo move daily, from oil and grain to lumber and coal. The origins of the Canadian National Railway go back to the early 20th century, when many independent railroad companies operated in the country. During the First World War, the economy weakened, and many of them were on the brink of bankruptcy. To save the infrastructure, the Canadian government decided to unite them under a single management, and thus, in 1918, the Canadian National Railway was born. One of CNR's key achievements was the construction of the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway, which connected Winnipeg with the Pacific coast. Later, branches appeared that covered the agricultural regions of the prairies and linked the country's most important cities. This network became a catalyst for economic growth and urbanization, and CNR trains turned into a symbol of Canadian progress. At different times, the company used the most modern trains, from the legendary 460 10-wheeler for passenger routes to the powerful 280 consolidation for freight transportation. And in the 1940s, electrification began, when the first electric locomotives joined the fleet. In 1966, CNR launched the revolutionary UAC turbo train, accelerating to 200 kilometers per hour on the route between Montreal and Toronto. These turbo trains became a symbol of technological progress and bold engineering decisions. Today, the Canadian National Railway is the largest railway operator in Canada, operating not only in its own country, but also in the USA, connecting the shores of the Atlantic and the Pacific. Its legacy is not just rails and locomotives, but the embodiment of the spirit of a nation that grew on the idea of movement, connection, and development. Now let us move to the south of Africa, to where the red earth and desert heat meet the grandeur of engineering thought. We are speaking about the grand Sishen-Saldanha Railway, which stretches across the country for more than 860 kilometers, connecting the richest iron ore mines at Sishen with the port of Saldanha Bay on the Atlantic coast. This line, known as the Iron Ore Line, transports up to 60 million tons of ore annually, a figure impressive even by world standards. Its construction began in 1976, and a year later, management passed to Transnet Freight Rail, which fully electrified the route, allowing consists to carry cargo over huge distances without loss of power. The Sishen-Saldanha Railway is a true victory of engineering over nature. It crosses rocky ranges, deep valleys, and deserts where the heat reaches unbearable values. To ensure the uninterrupted movement of trains in both directions, 19 passing loops were built along the line, and the length of some consists reaches a record 3.8 kilometers. Each train consists of 342 cars pulled by powerful Class 15E electric locomotives, and the total weight of this giant exceeds 41,000 tons. These steel caravans carry iron ore over distances that seem impossible, but for South Africa, nothing is impossible. Before us is one of the most impressive railway giants on the planet, BHP Iron Ore. This machine is the heart of the railway empire of Western Australia, in the harsh Pilbara region. It is here, among dusty deserts and endless horizons, that one of the longest and heaviest freight trains in the world operates. This colossus winds across the landscape like an endless steel dragon, stretching to a staggering 1.55 miles, which is approximately equal to more than 2 kilometers. It carries nothing less than the purest iron ore, the very material that feeds the metallurgical industry of Australia and the entire world. The consists of 682 cars, specially designed to transport colossal volumes of minerals. When the train is fully loaded, its mass reaches almost 100,000 tons, a weight that makes the earth tremble. The history of this giant goes back to the late 1960s, when BHP began actively developing ore mining in the Pilbara region. At that time, an extensive railway network was built, becoming the artery of Australian metallurgy. Since then, this colossus has transported millions of tons of ore daily to the ports, where the cargoes set off across the world's seas, ensuring the prosperity and growth of an entire country. This concludes our journey through the greatest railway giants on the planet. But if you love incredible machines, be sure to watch our other episodes. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave likes. It is not hard for you, and it is pleasant for me. Have a great day, everyone. See you soon.